Dr. Prest, good morning. Thank you so much for making time.
Good morning, man. Good to be with you.
Yes, as always, it's a pleasure to host you. Dr. Prest, we are seeing kind of a political earthquake, aren't we? It seems we have the fourth MP, and this time an NDP MP, who has decided to cross over to the Liberal side. Is Mark Carney not leaving anything to chance? He is facing a by-elections, in fact, three of them going forward next month. But is he not leaving anything to chance? He just wants to have a majority government by any means.
Well, it certainly seems that Prime Minister Carney is continuing to court opposition members wherever he can find them. So now pulling from both left and right, from a number of Conservative MPs have crossed the floor already, and now the NDP. So I think the Liberals are clearly still open for business when it comes to floor crossings, and the goal, I think, on the one hand, is to get over that magic threshold, 172 MPs, to give them a majority in the House of Commons. But beyond that, I do think there is the attempt to continue to reinforce the credibility of the Liberal Party as something that can speak to the needs of Canadians across the political spectrum, to really keep their opponents in both directions on hind foot. And given that the NDP is in a process of party renewal, going through a leadership race, and there are continuing questions about Pierre Poilievre's own leadership of the Conservative Party, even after having survived a review of his leadership. I think it's a sense of the Liberals striking while the iron is hot and trying to make hay while they can, as they say.
Now, when three floor crossings happened from the Conservative Party, there were serious questions about the leadership of Pierre Poilievre. Do you think the same questions are going to be asked about the federal NDP now that we have one crossing? And in fact, there's another one from the Ontario NDP. She decided to switch sides, and now she's contesting from the Scarborough seat for the Liberal Party in the by-elections.
I think, yeah, absolutely. And in some ways, the questions to the NDP go further than with the Conservatives. The Conservatives clearly have a strong share of the vote. It is not enough to win an election, and we proved that again last spring. But for the Conservatives, they clearly are speaking to a segment of the population, and so that is solid, even if there are questions about whether Mr. Poilievre is the person who can put them over the top. But for the NDP, the questions are more thoroughgoing, given that the party did so poorly in the last election and just reduced to fewer MPs than is necessary to be an official party, to qualify for funding and so on the in Parliament, and going through a leadership race where there's certainly a number of contestants, but they're struggling to maintain, I think, relevance, to keep that leadership race in the spotlight, and I think crossings like this make people wonder, well, why the NDP as a party? What does it stand for? What is it offering to the conversation in these more serious political times where margins seem to be thinner, and more Canadians are clearly looking at elections as a choice between Conservatives and Liberals, with the NDP seen as an all-split round, not that different than the Greens.
I think I have a sense that Prime Minister Mark Carney is not getting enough criticism for these floor crossings as any other politician would have got, perhaps. He still enjoys a lot of support, a wide range of support across the political spectrum. Probably that has something to do with that. But on very serious issues, also, we are seeing ambiguity from the Prime Minister, especially vis-a-vis the Iran situation. He gave a statement initially supporting Donald Trump and the United States military action against Iran, and then he had a second thought about it, and he said that it didn't really adhere to international law. And then he had a call with the president, and in which he extended support to the American cause. And he even suggested while in Australia that Canada might not be averse to participating in this conflict, but last night he said that no, Canada is not going to be party to this conflict. So many flip-flops on one issue. So do you see a crisis within the Prime Minister's leadership that he can't really make up his mind about what to do about Iran?
I think it's certainly fair to say that the Iran question is the most significant challenge to Mr. Carney, and one of the first significant tests of what some people were even calling the Carney doctrine, spelled out in this speech in Davos
Mm.
earlier in the year, which amounts to a kind of principled pragmatism, where Canada will continue to work towards a rule governed order when it is able to with countries who are of like mind, but will not simply ignore the real constraints that exist today. And so I think this Iran decision and the various permutations it has gone through is an example of how hard it is to actually walk that line. Because
Mm.
if you say we have principles but only sometimes, only in
Yes.
certain situations, then it's not clear that you do have principles. It
Mm.
seems like you are more of a weak reed, and that's what we're seeing here. And there's a real risk that if Canada says, well, international law matters when it matters for us,
Mm.
but not necessarily in other situations, then it becomes harder to justify requests for others to stand up for Canadian sovereignty in the final analysis. That's
Mhm.
what it boils down to. If sovereignty means something for Canada, it has to mean something for other countries as well. If the
Mhm.
United States has a free hand to throw its weight around in one part of the world, and why not in other places? And so I think there is a consistency problem, and it comes
Mhm.
back to trying to say the things that Canadians want to hear on this
Mhm.
issue, but also to not alienate that audience of one, the U.S. president, and that's proving to be a difficult line to walk.
Hmm. Because in the taking note debate on Monday at the House of Commons, the Prime Minister was missing, and this was actually objected to by the people in the opposition across the opposition. And but he was seen at an iftar party with the Muslim community. So his supporters think that this is a stronger single signal, perhaps, that he is with the community and by extension with the people of Iran. But then he skips parliament, and some people were also defending him, saying that, well, he was not really required to be there, but the foreign minister was there, and that was enough. Are you buying this argument?
Not really, no. I think on an issue where there is so much lack of clarity, where the Liberals themselves are the ones who are saying we need to have this take note debate, and
Hmm.
it's an important, lesser known part of parliamentary tradition, where
Hmm.
MPs on important questions of the day will gather together to express their views without taking a decision, but just to exchange views. It can be an important part of a deliberative form of democracy when people take it seriously and approach it with a kind of good faith. And so it was a real opportunity for the prime minister to deliver a clear speech laying out exactly what he sees as the factors influencing his decision to inform the MPs who gathered together to have this conversation. But instead, he opted for a kind of performative politics outside of Parliament. And I think there is a lack of attention to the importance of parliamentary management, of caucus management, of ensuring that those who are elected to represent Canadians are all part of this conversation. I think Mr. Carney is showing a preference for conversations happening outside of the legislature, off Parliament Hill, with communities and outside of Canada, and speaking in foreign capitals, and that's not a good approach for prime ministers in the long run. In the long run, they need to pay attention to those institutions as well. And if he is not able to I think fix that tendency, it will come back to bite him.
So, do you think the lack of enthusiasm about his three countries tour, in the press at least, has more to do with this, his ambiguity, or the Iran conflict? Because it got overshadowed by whatever happened in Iran.
I think the Iran conflict is looming large, but for Canadians, it's really clear that for them, the most important thing is how to manage the relationship with the United States, and I
Mhm.
think everything else is seen as secondary. and
Mhm.
and so there there is a clear sense among a majority of Canadians, not all Canadians. It is still a deeply polarizing issue, but on a majority of Canadians, they are more comfortable with the Liberals' approach, with Mark Carney's approach, than any of the other options on the table.
Mhm.
The NDP has not really been able to present a coherent position
Mhm.
on where the country should be going in this leadership race, which I think is unfortunate for them.
Mhm.
And the Conservatives, for their part, really have trouble making the case that they, in general, and Mr. Polyev in particular,
Mhm.
are in a position to stand up for Canada against United States. So often, Mr. Poilievre has sounded a little bit like Donald Trump. He's not the same, but he says things that are reminiscent, talking about even using the same phraseology, make Canada affordable again. It's the kind of thing he would say. And so that speaks to a lack of credibility for Canadians who are really looking for a strong articulation. So even amid the missteps that Mr. Carney is making, and I think it's fair to call them that, there's still a sense that in the final analysis, the Liberals are still the best bet.
And before I let you go, Dr. Prest, closer home, there is a forthcoming election at the Vancouver City Council, which has become ugly now because of the spat between Mayor Ken Sim and Sean Orr. There's a defamation suit that's coming, and these ugly revelations about the mayor have made things very difficult for his party. Do you think his run for mayor again is going to be impacted by that?
Oh, absolutely. I think this issue is going to follow him, and we could see attempts to try to turn the page, saying that the mayor has apologized. Can't we move on? But he had trouble apologizing, first of all, and he hasn't fully explained why he said the things that he did and why he did it in the way he did it. The fact that he was saying one thing in English language press and saying a different thing to Chinese language media in the city, I think is really damning. That kind of divisive politics, pitting one community against another, is frankly dangerous. And so I think it's not something you can simply apologize for and turn the page. So I think this will follow him, and there are going to be questions about the kinds of judgment that he has exhibited throughout this episode.
Dr. Press, it's always a pleasure to host you, and I was trying to cover as much ground as possible with you in the short 12 minutes that I had with you. But thank you so much for making time. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
My pleasure as well. I think we did a good job covering the waterfront.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.